I'm going to go into our second question. And this is perfect because veterans have like single payer health care. If you're a disabled veteran, you get VA benefits which includes health care. United States is one of few developed countries that does not have single payer health care, yet the mindset of our general population, when it's talked about the way it's presented in the media, is not necessarily for single payer health care as it's presented.
Yeah.
So as a congressperson, if elected, like what things would you do to make sure not only veterans have single payer health care, but people in rural areas?
I've learned everything I needed to know about single payer health care in the military. It's simply, you get a universal basic income. If you get married, you get housing, you can get school for free, you can get healthcare. So it's one of the foundational principles of this campaign, right? I know that you got to run, and I don't intend to be just an anti-Trump representative. Okay. That's not helping them.
Right.
I firmly believe healthcare is a human right. It's an economic message.
Yes.
It's a mental health message. It's a morality boost. And when you talk about universal healthcare and what comes with that, you have to have the conversation about contraception, IVF, abortion access, maternal health in general. And then two, it's a rural health economic message. Rural hospitals are closing and they fund heavily through Medicare and Medicaid.
So because it's interesting to me that if people take a survey and say, do you think Americans should have health care? We overwhelmingly say yes. But then when it comes to like how we go about getting this health care, everything breaks down. Because the people who are making the most money from how we do healthcare now they don't want it to change. So,
yeah.
So it's good to know that is a priority for you.
Absolutely. Do you think there's other countries would trade their healthcare system for ours?
No, probably not.
No.
So when you say you take an oath, and this is just follow-up, this is not part of the 3, tell the audience what you mean by that.
So you take an oath to the Constitution when you sign up for the military, and you, in summary, you're swearing oath and allegiance to the document, and that you will protect it against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Yeah. Not every veteran takes that oath seriously, and I'll be honest, when I was 22 years old, I didn't understand it, the gravity of it. But I'm 41.
Definitely never thought it would be tested as far as domestically.
That's an even better way to describe it. Like, I never once thought. But I am a man of action, a man of principle, and a man of integrity, and I knew what that meant to me.
Okay. All right. So, military, thank you for your service. So, we hear a lot, like Alabama, we're closing hospitals, what we call Medicare for all, but the single payer health insurance. So, in your role as a congressperson, how would you work to bring more consensus toward that goal?
Well, I think the important thing about that is to recognize that we are one of only 2 or 3 developed nations that don't have single payer healthcare, that don't acknowledge that healthcare is a human right, is not something that people should be turning a profit off of. Because when you go to the hospital, you're vulnerable. You don't have time to compare prices. You don't have time to call around to different doctors. You don't even have time to see who's in network. You figure that out when the bill shows up 4 months later. So right now, our system is broken. The second piece of this is people are always worried about, well, how are we going to pay for that? We always find money for war. We always find money for more defense spending, right? We have money. The money's there. How our government spends our money is a direct reflection of our national values. And right now, I don't see our values being reflected in our government spending. So I do not believe that this is something that I'm going to get up there in January 2027 and file a bill and we're going to have single payer healthcare come February 1st. That's not reality. It's amending existing legislation that is allowing insurance companies to put the squeeze on both us and our hospitals and get us back to a point where our hospitals don't have to close their emergency rooms, because that is a huge issue here.
Yeah. Quality of life, for sure, as it relates to human rights and dignity. So, and I'm glad to hear you say that you're not promising to do something on day 1 or in your first 100 days as it relates to healthcare, because we know that there's definitely a need for a mindset shift in order for us to start moving forward in that direction with momentum. So
I always say everyone is just so worried about poor insurance companies. And I don't understand why, but that's what people say, like, oh, well, there's a whole industry built around health insurance. Yes. And technological advances, policy changes, community advancement, all of that has caused other private entities to have to shift gears or go out of business in the past. AT&T, we don't use home phones anymore, but AT&T is doing just fine. So if you are concerned about the poor little insurance companies, I promise they'll be okay.
And I don't understand how somebody can use poor insurance companies in the same.
Oh, yeah. I like budgets. I like numbers. You're a policy nerd. You're a politics nerd. You're a data nerd. I don't want to look at the spreadsheets, but I do understand the money and I understand the flow and I understand how policy makes something enforceable and how money makes it down to us.
I am a small business owner. I'm a plumber and gas fitter, and I have a small business. After a year in my company, all of my guys, we pay for their health insurance in full. Period. It doesn't come out of their check. They don't pay so because like all plumbers, I have an acting degree from Boston University. so I was a union actor in New York City for 7 years, which meant, of course, I was a bartender, which meant I had no health insurance for 10 years. I couldn't afford it. I could not afford it. And I remember this was pre-ACA.
Yeah.
And so the pre-existing condition fear was real.
Right.
And what I say is, what I believe is that, to answer your question directly, nobody should be afraid to get hurt or be sick.
Right.
We have this, it's a failed reasoning in a couple of ways. We have this idea that people, if they work hard enough, they can pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but you can't do that without boots. And more than that, that's like a tagline. It's not just that. It's also bad economics.
Right. So
even from a business perspective, it's not good business. It doesn't make any sense. And in fact, I'd go further. Health. So we have $40 trillion of debt with no plan and adding $1 to $2 billion of debt every day in Iran right now. How could we ever skin that cat? And the answer, if we're really lucky, is going to be idly.
Right.
Is going to be like this.
Right.
Like this. And healthcare is one of the only things that is big enough to move the needle on the debt in this country. So we have an economic imperative. There is no math, and there hasn't been for a generation, that we can sustain how unwell we are as a nation. And that is all connected. So it not only is it, I would say, describe it, as a Christian, as it's the right thing to do.
Right.
It's a moral imperative, but
human rights.
But even if people don't want to use those terms, for my Republican friends, if they don't want to describe it that way, it's economically nonsensical what we're doing. So how are we going to do that? I don't care what you call it, single payer, Medicare for all. I don't care. We need accessible, high quality healthcare for everyone. How do we get there? I believe, and I have started a national coalition of Democratic candidates called, and this is how we get this done, in my opinion.
Okay.
Because we have had, if we look historically, Democratic House, Senate, White House, we didn't get it done. We didn't get it done.
Right.
So why is it going to be different this time? We've had Republican.
Right.
And it hadn't gotten done.
Right.
What's the problem? Okay, here's how we do it.
I have a theory.
I do too. Let's see if it overlaps. It's the lobbyists.
Yes.
So how do we money, and money that is not being wisely spent, and that the people aren't benefiting from.
Correct.
So we have to get rid of the for-profit middleman in the middle.
Yeah.